All right, this week in golf podcast, Masters review show, and boy, what a Masters it was. Jon Rahm has taken the title, had a bit of a showdown there for a minute or two with Brooks Koepka, but we'll get to that in a minute. But there's one thing about the Masters that I've noticed over the years, and it's kind of what I'll say is the right guy always wins. And what I mean by that is like the guy who's put in the time at Augusta, so to speak, who's kind of been there and through the fire before. Rahm's had some good years where he's contended, and I was talking about this last week as well, about as far as picking a winner, you always want someone who's contended. And last year, going into the Masters, Scheffler was the hottest player in the world. He was winning tournaments left and right. And that's kind of been this year as well. Him and Rahm have been back and forth. One week he wins, the next week Rahm wins. So literally the two best players have been going at it. And now Rahm has won. Scheffler won last year. Rahm has won this year. So kind of the two best, hottest guys the last 18 months or so on the PGA Tour have now won. And Rahm's going to make a great champion. Very humble guy, great ambassador of the game. He is a golf nerd, as he calls himself. He loves studying and watching old rounds and things like that. And he was really grateful and humble in his acceptance. Goes and thanks the staff of Augusta first and all the past champions, particularly the past champions from Spain like Sergio and Oarzabal and Sevi. So just a great overall performance overall. Today, I did make a video. You can check it out on the Golf BPM channel. It's all of Rahm's swings. I timed it to the music. It's actually the putting and chipping music, which is at 138 beats per minute, and that is at a 2-to-1 tempo ratio. I don't know why. Maybe it's the fact that Rahm doesn't bring the club back very far, but all his swings are on a 2-to-1 ratio when we timed it to the music. It's just the way it worked out. So it didn't matter if it was his drives or his chips. They all were on that same tempo. So check out that video. He won about $3.5 million on this one. So now his total is up to about $14 million on the year. It's a pretty good year. And especially for being on the PGA Tour versus Live, where they're paying $4 million a pop. So that gets to the final day, which was Brooks Koepka was in there versus Rahm. And the way the tournament kind of shook out was that, man, to the casual fan, I was with some people over the weekend who watch golf a little bit, and they were like, there's no way Koepka can lose this thing. But the entire time I was looking at it, I'm like, well, Rahm's only two back. And, going into Saturday, the way Saturday kind of worked out with the weather delay and then cancellation on Saturday where they had to finish on Sunday, it didn't look too good for Rahm because he was playing through the rain and Koepka was sitting there in the clubhouse. But if you looked at it closer, Koepka shot 73, so he was one over on Saturday, right? So great score Friday or Thursday, great score Friday, and then over par on Saturday. And then Rahm just is kind of hanging around there doing the same thing. But that whole final Sunday had a feel of it to many, many years ago when Greg Norman played against Nick Faldo. And, a lot of people know that story because they would say that Norman choked and gave it away. Norman just couldn't putt that day. He actually made some really nice shots. But if you watch Faldo, when he talks about it, he would always talk about, I just thought if I could get it close, get it within a few strokes, that I could put some pressure on him and see see what happens when the pressure's applied. And, Faldo ends up beating Norman, I think by 1 or 2 in that. But it was that pressure. And so that's kind of what it felt like this week with, Koepka being ahead, going into the final round by 2 strokes, and then Rahm just applying pressure. And unfortunately for Koepka, the pressure got to him a little on the front 9. He starts the tournament with a 2-stroke lead, and by the 8th hole, he's 2 strokes behind, and Rahm never looks back. So there's your final, right? Goes down in history. Another Spaniard gets it, and it's interesting. Nothing against Brooks or Rahm or either way, but on one side you got Rahm that just loves golf, total golf nerd, and on the other side Koepka, wouldn't say hates golf, but he doesn't watch golf. He's not a fan of golf. He likes playing golf, but not watching it. So, anyways, what a great finish! Congratulations to Jon Rahm. And let's go down the list of some other past champions that showed up at Augusta. And it's just amazing how people who have played well at Augusta once continue to play well over the years. The first, obviously, being Tiger. Tiger has now made the cut 23 years in a row. So that ties the record. I don't know who he's tied with, but he's tied the record now. Unfortunately for Tiger, he barely made the cut, by the way. And he had to withdraw the next day. So his foot obviously gave him too much of an issue to finish, which is when I went to Riviera to see him. That's why I went on Thursday. It wasn't that I didn't think he would make the cut. I just figured if he did make the cut, he may not be able to physically go over the weekend. So unfortunately for him, we'll just have to see how that plays out over time. And the next past champion was Phil Mickelson. And at age 52, Phil comes in. He played pretty good Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but on Sunday he shoots 64, and he ends up, 8 under par? So he's even at the start of the day. He ends up 8 under par, and he gets second place in the tournament. So kudos to Phil. He was on fire. He started making everything down the stretch, and he actually put, when Jon Rahm got to the 10th hole, Phil was finishing on 18 with an 8 under par, so he posted an 8 under par. And at the time, Rahm was 10 under par, so, something to think about. Man in the clubhouse at 8, Koepka was 8 under par, and then Rahm was 10. So the next past champion that did well, or accomplished something, we should say, is Fred Couples. Fred Couples set a goal to make the cut, and he did make the cut. He is the oldest player to have ever made the cut now at 63 years old. He had a quote to say, like, hey, I can't hit it as far as the guys or play as good as the young guys, but I set a goal to make the cut, so goal accomplished. Kudos to him. The next past champion that played really well was, he didn't play so well, but Jordan Spieth. He didn't play well until the final day, much like Phil. He shot 65, and he tied for fourth. He would have shot 8 under par that day, but he ended up bogeying the 18th hole. So he was a little disappointed in that. He actually had some quotes that said something to the effect of, he was not playing well. It was just kind of knowledge of the course and how to play the course, which allowed him to get in the position he was in. Finally, the last past champion that did well again was Patrick Reed. I don't know why people hate Patrick Reed. I actually like Patrick Reed because you hate Patrick Reed. It's true. I do like a good bad guy. Triple H in wrestling, Darth Vader, Patrick Reed. I don't know why everybody hates him so much. It's probably a problem they have with themselves. But anyways, he had a chance. He did play good all 4 days. He didn't play the greatest. I mean, he was like 1 under par, 2 under par. I think he started the day maybe 3 under par, and he ends up 7 under par and a tie for fourth. So he just had a few bogeys on the back nine and didn't make the putts he probably wanted to make to put him in contention. But a good round nonetheless. Those are the past champions. On the amateur side, this fella Sam Bennet, who is in college, did really well. Not only did he make the cut, but he was in contention in Saturday, and I believe he was in the final group on Saturday. Unfortunately, he went back a little bit and ended up 2 or 3 under par. So he wasn't even in the top 12, so he won't auto qualify next year. But he did well, and he was in the top 20, so that's a nice thing. The other thing I wanted to bring up regarding the Masters is their mobile app. I don't know the people that hear me. They know my background. Obviously, I play a lot of golf, but my background is actually a computer programmer and an app developer. So much so that at one point I had named myself the App Man. I still have a license plate that says the App Man, and I still develop apps. Obviously, the Golf BPM app was completely developed by me. So I know a thing or two about apps. I also used to work at IBM, who does the Masters app. And it's hands down the best app that's out there. Not only can you watch all the videos, the featured groups, the featured holes, the live broadcast, but it has a feature that's so cool. You go in and you search by player. You can still do this even after the tournament. Search by player, look at Brooks Koepka, look at Jon Rahm, and it has their score, and then it'll start playing the video of them on the first hole, but you can tap on any hole and then it'll show you every shot that they hit, not just on, or you can just watch the entire thing through, which is pretty darn cool in my book. Because say you didn't see the broadcast of Phil playing well, you can go through and watch Phil play his entire round, or his back nine where he had 6 birdies, right? So it's pretty cool. I wish they would do the same thing with the PGA Tours app. That would be nice. Give me a call. Happy to help you develop it. And then the other thing I would say that would be really cool is if both the PGA and the Masters and all these tournaments could do is what the NFL does, which is a condensed replay. A condensed replay would be ideal because, you can watch an NFL football game in 45 minutes. So you're not watching them come in and out of the huddle. They're just at the line of scrimmage running a play and then the next play. So that would be nice if the PGA, if I could do a condensed replay and watch the entire, final round in an hour. I don't need to see every player. I just need to see like the Masters broadcast where they only show the leaders. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the final 2 days of the Masters, they'll only show the people that are in contention. So you might make a good shot and they'll show that good shot. But unless you're in contention and down the stretch, they won't show you. So that would be nice if they did a condensed replay for everything. Let's move on to this week. I was thinking this week would be an off week for me. I knew it was the RBC Heritage Classic, and I thought it would be just, the open field. But it turns out it's an elevated event. So no rest for me. I'll get to cover that this week as well. There's only 2 notables. Pretty much everybody's playing. Rahm is on the list. I guess he's going to play. I don't know. As of now, he's playing. But Rory McIlroy is out. He missed the cut at the Masters, and now he's out at the RBC. So maybe he just wants to spend some time with his family and get back over the pond. But hopefully he's not hurt, and I don't want to speculate on that, but he's out. And then the other guy that is out and out for the season, unfortunately, is Will Zalitoris. Will had to pull out of the Masters, and he's having back surgery now. So he is done for the season, unfortunately. Good young player, and that's going to be quite the setback for him. But, he had the back issue and taken some time off before, and so he had actually changed his swing, or his posture, I guess, to help take weight off his back. But apparently the issue is so bad he's going to have surgery. So we'll see what happens. Full field, elevated event, a lot of money on the line this week. And that's This Week in Golf. Talk to you next week. Hey, it's Jeremy Callahan, and thanks for listening to This Week in Golf. Make sure and hit subscribe so you can get all the latest news and analysis from Golf BPM.